A big statement win for the Mariners as they take down the Angels in their road opener. Bryan Woo shines. Cole Young, are you serious?
Baseball stuff!
Yes, welcome on in to Hold My Trident. Gavin Hite, Christian Rao here, and we are going to break down the extra innings win for the Seattle Mariners, moving to 4-4 on the season. Don't worry about it now. No more losing records for the Seattle Mariners, right? Let's be like Ichiro. Let's never have a 300 batting average or below a 300 batting average ever again. Let's make that with the 500 record for the Mariners this season. Getting the extra innings win 3-1 over the Angels, and it was in excellent fashion. Bryan Woo, hit the Ric Flair button because, wow, it was super impressive. Cole Young, are you serious? He can't bat ninth anymore. I like the table setter as like turning over the order, but against lefties, are you kidding me? Got to move him up. Cal Raleigh in the middle of the order, there were some good things to talk about. And of course, there are some injury news that we have to maybe keep an eye on as well. We'll dig into all of this on this episode. Hit that subscribe button because we are bringing you Seattle Mariners coverage nearly every single day and really every single day. Prospects, game coverage, so much more right here on Hold My Trident podcast, right here, powered by Up West Sports. Gavin, what was your thoughts on this one? It was nice to have this after the Yankees series. It's good to get a big win against an AL West opponent.
Yep, the win is what it comes down to, but the whole game you're just like, all right, come on, guys, like scratch away, nickel dime, whatever you got to do, get one run, just have the lead going into the ninth inning, and just couldn't get that done. Shout out Bryan Woo, absolutely masterful. And I feel bad for the guy because he's now had two great outings that we just couldn't find a win for him. However, this is why I talked about him being one of the game's best pitchers, and he's definitely a top 5 pitcher in MLB in my opinion, and he just kind of continues to prove it. Granted, it's against a team that's also 3-4 that we don't expect to do a whole lot this year, but he's killing it, man. Bryan Woo is I'm gonna double stamp that triple stamp. Triple stamp that double stamp. He is one of the best pitchers in the game right now. Very excited to see what he's got in store for us the rest of the season. However, did see the wind was definitely a factor. I think Mike Trout absolutely got a hold of one. I thought it was off. I thought it was out off the bat and everything. Didn't quite make it. I think it was like 25 feet short. So wind was definitely a factor, and you're hoping that you get out of Seattle and the weather isn't the problem that you're facing as a hitter. We're right back in it. That's just unfortunately what we had to deal with tonight, and we scratched away a win. I'm just happy that we got a win. We saw some late, great, just good offensive play, and Cole Young is definitely the centerpiece to that. So shout out to the Mariners for finding a way in extras.
Yeah, super impressive. Should we just expect for the entirety of the season, every single start, that when Bryan Woo starts, that he's going to give us 6-7 solid innings and we're going to extra innings? Because that's what we've got so far this season. We've had both games that have gone the extras so far this season. Bryan Woo got the start. Now they lost the one against the Guardians, but they got this win. And yeah, the offense was really non-existent for either side because it was a pitching duel. And really, the first 9 innings, even with the beginning of each bullpen, was really great as well. Bryan Woo, obviously the line on him, 7 innings pitched, only 1 hit allowed, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. But on the other side, Reed Detmers was impressive as well. 6 2/3 innings. I mean, he pitched over 100 pitches. He was close to his career high of 108. I think he got the 105. And he only allowed 3 hits. He had 4 walks, 4 Ks. When you were watching the game and you were watching Detmers, I thought that we were going to get him out early. He only went for 4, and I think 2/3 inning in his first start. He wasn't as effective and efficiency-wise as Bryan Woo was in the outing. And I thought, okay, by the 5th inning, they're going to get to that bullpen, and that's great. That's exactly what we need. Go back to those righties, although I couldn't believe how many lefties came out of the pen for the Angels in this one. But he just continued to stick around. He was pesky. Detmers was really pesky in this one. And although he didn't shine and wasn't super impressive by the stat line compared to Woo, I mean, he didn't let any scores. He let a couple of walks on, but he continued to keep those Mariners off the board. Overall, though, this is a really fun baseball game to watch if you like defense, if you like pitching, and then that extra innings by Cole Young, and Josh Naylor was super impressive, Gavin.
Yes, Josh Naylor, late showing and clutch hitting, and that's kind of what we're expecting from this guy, and why we doubled down on the payment for getting him back and everything. Yeah, shout out Reed Detmers. He did a phenomenal job. I thought our hitters did good under the circumstances, and I say that because they were able to push the count to 3-2, 2-2, get those late counts, drive his pitches up, and Reed Detmers battled on the other side of just being able to go 100 plus pitches and get through the 6+ innings. So shout out Reed Detmers. He did a phenomenal job. You know, if I'm an Angels fan looking at this game, I'm not unhappy with what I saw pitching wise. It was just the extra innings. Even Drew Pomeranz, who hasn't had a great start to this year, was able to find a way to get out of a jam late in the game that helped save it, that pushed it to extra. So if I'm an Angels fan, I'm liking what I saw from the pitching side of the whole thing.
Let's talk about that extra innings thing. Cole Young obviously had what was almost a home run. Goes up and gets the lead for the Mariners for the first time. Then Josh Naylor continues it. That middle of the lineup finally starting to get a little bit of juice. Cal Raleigh obviously didn't have the greatest of games. He goes 0 for 4. He did get a walk, but Julio Rodriguez gets a single. He gets a walk. He gets on base. And Josh Naylor goes 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Is this the start of something exciting, Gavin? Are we finally getting to see something good here? And what more can we say about Cole Young? Everything he's done so far this season has been super impressive. And now you add JP Crawford back into the mix. Rivas had to play a little bit in this one, although he did start the game on the bench because of Crawford. We'll get to that in a minute, why he was in. But overall, man, this is a team that is, again, reminds you how exciting they are. And maybe we should have pumped the brakes on being so concerned about how they started off the season.
Yeah, what we saw that first week from the 2 through 4 hitters, that kind of that middle of the lineup. What we saw today was a little bit better. 2 through 4, 3 for 13, 2 RBI, 2 walks, only striking out twice. And yeah, the woes kind of continued for Cal Raleigh. Over 4. He did have the one walk. He found his way on base the one time. No hits, didn't really contribute a whole lot at the plate. And you're just wondering, is he seeing the ball well right now? Is that kind of what's holding up? We saw the Luke Raley issues with him just not reading spin. And you're just wondering, okay, like, is it just early for Cal Raleigh right now? Does he need just a little more time to kind of factor in, or is something else more concerning going on? Only time will tell. But the fact that the middle of this order was able to contribute and be clutch at the times that they needed them to be clutch, that's what matters. Is they were able to hit and produce runs when we need them to do that.
How do you feel about having Canzone and Luke Raley on the bench coming in for pinch hit situations in the second half of the game? Do you like that? Would you rather it be Raley or somebody in? Obviously, Ref Snyder's in instead of Canzone because of the lefty, but would you rather have Raley as the everydayer instead of Robles when it comes to these kind of games? Or do you like the fact that you have a potential power hitter in a clutch situation towards the end of the games?
You know, I love that you brought that specific topic up of our platoon guys kind of fighting each other right now. Rob Ref Snyder he still has something to prove. Didn't see a whole lot from him. I actually haven't seen a whole lot from him. I don't think he has a single hit on the year. He's
getting
only
on base though.
He's getting on base, but he doesn't have anything that's kind of producing, I guess is the best way, in my opinion, to kind of frame that up. And then, yeah, you have Dom Canzone and you have Luke Raley, who got a late inning at bat, and you're sitting there wondering, okay, yeah, it's the left on left situation, and there's a ton of lefties coming out of the pen, one after the other for the Angels. At some point, you got to see what these guys can do holistically. Can they produce on a full term? If you put them in the starting lineup and a righty and lefty comes up late in the inning or late in the game, do you have to take Dom Canzone out, or can you leave him in? And I'd like to know. I think he had a hit earlier this week against the Guardians, against the lefty. I think if I'm not mistaken,
Ref Snyder, he has not. No hits.
No. Canzone. Sorry.
Canzone. Yeah.
Yes. I think I remember him getting an RBI single earlier this week against the lefty. I could be wrong. However, you got to start testing the waters on that, and this is the time to test the waters on that. Rightfully so. Ref Snyder should have started. I agree. I would have liked to have seen Dom Canzone at some point. However, hey, we got through the game. We got to win. Learn from what we learn, or learn from the mistakes, or learn from what we need to learn from, and then tomorrow battle anew. I believe, is it Jack Kokonovich that's going
Yep.
tomorrow, or is it
Mhm.
Jack Kokonovich going tomorrow? Would like to see more Rayleigh. Would like to see more Canzone, and just see what we got with those boys.
Yeah, Ref Snyder so far this season, he didn't have any hits on the homestand. He was 0 for 8 on the homestand with 3 strikeouts, but tonight goes 0 for 3, but gets 2 walks. So he finally gets on base, which is good because he led off tonight, and that is something that has been successful for the Mariners so far this season. I believe I heard a stat on the broadcast that they're towards the top or either first place. Can't remember exactly how they worded that, in the entire league when it comes to leadoff production compared to Donovan and Ref Snyder so far this season. So when it comes to on-base percentage, not batting average, which you'll take all time, because that's exactly what you need when it comes to table setting to get ready for the middle of the order and Raleigh and Julio and things like that. It comes to, actually, that brings me up a question as well. This might be the old school baseball thought process in me. But on the flip side, on the Angels, Zach Neto's their leadoff guy, right? And I was looking at, and they're bringing up his advanced data, and they're showing the nice stats. Mariners TV is doing a really good job with their broadcast this year. I really like all the graphics they're bringing up, the numbers they're showing. It showed that last season Neto was below average, meaning he had more strikeout percentage than the MLB league average. He was less worse, when it comes to walks compared to league average. So below average in both those stats. And yeah, he did have 26 home runs last year, but you would think that you'd have more of a table setter type guy to lead off your team to be in front of Mike Trout instead of a guy that strikes out more than the league average, walks less than league average, but yet they have Neto as the leadoff batter. Am I wrong there am I thinking too old school in this situation? What am I doing?
No. I think if you look at their lineup from a holistic perspective, he makes the most sense, because I don't think their lineup is chock full of just a ton of guys that get on. They don't have the wherewithal to put somebody at the 4 spot, to put somebody at the 1 spot, and put somebody at the 9 spot. They don't have a holistic lineup to be able to do that. They got to make do with what they have. And Zach Neto on their team, should be anywhere from 2 to 5 in their lineup, in my opinion, based off of last year's stats, based off of projections, all that good stuff. But yeah, he's their leadoff guy. He strikes out probably a little bit more than you would want your leadoff guy to. However, there's the weird cases of Kyle Schwarber being a leadoff in Philly, and it works for them. But I think he's just a masterful hitter. He has such a great eye at the plate that he gets on when he needs to get on. He strikes out a lot, but he does what he needs to do as a leadoff to get the job done. Zach Neto still trying to prove himself. I think if Zach Neto was on the Mariners, I'd look at him as a leadoff. But we have Brendan Donovan right now, and that's like your premier. He's doing so good, batting over 400. He's doing so good that I just don't want to look at anybody else but Brendan Donovan. Neto, I'm curious to see how he kind of handles this year, and what it's like being one of the few hitters in the lineup, because Soler was supposed to be a good ball player. Kind of fell off the wagon, I believe 2 years ago. Angels picked him up, and yeah, he's kind of just there, batting under 200 and just in the lineup. And we'll see if he ever goes back to the old Jorge Soler. This lineup is just a little bit depleted, in my opinion.
And that's where we need to go next. Brendan Donovan leaving the game in the top of the 7th inning after kind of having an awkward hit with the first base bag, trying to get there on a tough ground ball. He winds up getting out and being removed from the game. After the game, we saw this from Ryan Divish. He put it out on Twitter. He said, Brendan Donovan had some discomfort, quote, somewhere in his leg after hitting the ball or the bag awkwardly. They will reevaluate him tomorrow. It sounds a lot more promising than the fact that during the game, they said they couldn't find him in the dugout. They were trying to make it seem like it was more of a bigger deal than it is. I mean, it still could be, but I'm going to be honest, it sounds a lot more promising than I thought it was 10 minutes ago before we started this podcast.
Yeah, and just kind of seeing it, you just never know. The hyperextension of a knee is always detrimental in baseball, and reaching out, as valiant of an effort as it was, always reaching out to try and touch first before the play happens and everything. Man, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to just kind of look at and take in. You never know exactly what's happening. It's good to hear that it may be some promising notes. We may be under a week potentially for him to come back. However, knock on wood, that's what happens. However, on the latter part of that, maybe it's a month. Maybe it's a month, and we're looking at internal options and trying to fill this roster with some other guys.
Yeah, well, there's always the thing to bring it up. We might as well do it before everybody else does. If there's an internal option, if it is worse than expected, there's the question. Do you already make the move? Do you already bring up Colt Emerson? I know they say they're not rushing it, but look, this is the third baseman right here, Bryan Donovan. You've had the thought process of Colt Emerson potentially maybe playing a little bit of third base. Rivas took over for him in this game. Do you hold back if you have to make a roster move? Do you bring him up now with the fact of all these other youngsters up there in the league as well? Do you bring Ryan Bliss back? What do you think if they have to make a roster move? And I'm hoping it's not the case because I'd rather Donovan maybe just be a healthy scratch for a couple days. They go at Rivas, they figure it out, they regroup after the Angels series. If that's the worst case, I doubt that we see Brendan Donovan, even if he's feeling great. I doubt we see him in tomorrow's game. Just to be cautious, that sounds like a Dan Wilson kind of thing. But what would you think would happen if they had to make a move? What are you leaning towards?
Well, I think you're spot on with tomorrow for sure. I think even if he's like, hey, man, I'm good, healthy, we're good, I still think he's going to be out for tomorrow. I think as they're on the road now, what you're going to see is any other option than Colt Emerson. I think they're going to try and line that up. Like you saw with Connor, if you're familiar with the rest of the league, Connor Griffin made his start today in Pittsburgh with his whole family. I think that's the type of entry that they're trying to make for Colt Emerson. So I would imagine it's going to be a Friday night game back in Seattle after, being on the road for a week or two. That's the type of setup that they're trying to get for Colt Emerson. So right now it would be probably a Ryan Bliss. It would be, somebody else that they deem, eligible, or just Patrick Wisdom is killing it in AAA right now. I think he has 5 home runs in the first 4 games in AAA, and he's got infield experience. I wouldn't be surprised to see, him get an opportunity. And I don't know if he has, actually, I think he doesn't have options left. So, take that with a grain of salt, but you're looking at other options to kind of line Colt Emerson up for that perfect window, to get him up when it's necessary, when you can get the family in town, because you just made that huge extension with him. You want to do the grand entry for this guy to come in. So I think that's the route that they'll probably take with him.
Yeah, I don't think they need to rush him. I think there's way other veteran options in Tacoma, even if they have to make some moves and utilize Rivas a little bit more, just to have a veteran presence or a little bit more of an option, utility option on the bench. And you mentioned Wisdom being one. I know Connor Joe's not a third baseman, but he's sitting down there in the minors. There's a ton of other presence I think you can utilize instead of Colt Emerson, at least for now. And you're right. You're on the road. You're playing 2 AL West opponents in a row in the Angels, and then you head to Texas and Arlington. And then you have an off day on April 9th, and then you play 13 straight games home and away until your next off day on April 23rd. So I do think that you have to make a decision if there's going to be a roster move, that you have to think about those off days as well. If Brendan Donovan is not needing an IL stint, but also knowing that you have to play, 16 games, 19 games in the next, with only 2 off days in between, then maybe you hold him off all the way through this road trip and you don't bring him back until you come back to Seattle against Houston, and you rely on Rivas and rely on JP Crawford. But if that's the case, if you're going to leave him out for the next 5 games, you're probably bringing up and probably doing a 15-day IL stint. That's just probably what it is. Look at me talking in circles. Good stuff here. That means that we're getting tired and need to get out of here. Tomorrow's game is at 6:38 p.m. Eastern time. That's 6:38 Pacific time, and hopefully it's at 6:38. Man, that delay with that home opener today.
I know.
I get it.
Got us.
Like,
it got us.
Oh, it was so. I was waiting for baseball for like a whole half hour. I didn't like it, and but either way, Emerson Hancock on the mound. He was great in his last outing. 9 strikeouts. Had a shutout outing.
Pay attention here.
Let's
Emerson Hancock
in this one, and then it's righty on the mound. So, who's going to lead off tomorrow? That's a big question as well. Who's going to lead off tomorrow? Will Randy step back up to the plate? Will he be the leadoff? or will Cole Young go? If it's
We're gonna
Donovan
put
not
Julio
going,
back in first or back in leadoff spot.
who's going to lead off tomorrow? That's
we
something
got
we didn't even talk about. Like,
questions, and I'm excited to talk more about it tomorrow afternoon.
absolutely. You can check us out right here on Hold My Trident, a Seattle Mariners podcast. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave your comments below. Do you think there's going to be a roster move with Brennan Donovan, or you think it's a lot more promising than what we are potentially talking about? We'll see you back here tomorrow as we continue to talk more Seattle Mariners right here on Hold My Trident.